Hello and welcome to Mia is Anonymous, the podcast where I talk about feminism and I analyze and review media through a feminist lens. I do that with songs, I do that with books, and today is a first. We're going to analyze a movie. We're going to analyze The Virgin Suicides, directed by Sofia Coppola. I was going to talk about the book, but I never read the book, so I just feel like I'm just going to focus on the movie. I watched it for the first time yesterday, and when I tell you, boy, did it frustrate me? It frustrated me. So if you want to stick around for that, this is it. This is the video. Let's get started. I watched The Virgin Suicides for the first time as a 24-year-old, and it frustrated the absolute heck out of me, and I'm going to explain why. If you have never heard of this movie, I'll give you a quick rundown. The Virgin Suicides, directed by Sofia Coppola and based on the novel by Jeffrey Eugenides, I hope I'm saying that correctly, follows a group of teenage boys who become infatuated with the 5 sheltered Lisbon sisters in 1970s suburban Michigan. After the youngest sister, Cecilia, dies by suicide, their strict parents further isolate the remaining girls, intensifying the boys' fascination and the sisters' loneliness. There is this quote in the film said by one of the boys, and this is the quote. "In the end, we had the pieces of the puzzle, but no matter how we put them together, gaps remained, oddly shaped emptinesses mapped by what surrounded them." And that is such like the message of the story, and this is what frustrates me. And this is what frustrates me about the film. The movie revolves around these epic tragedies, but a lack of story to fully understand the cause. And that's the whole point of the book and film. This is what happens when you are considered an object of fascination instead of an actual person. Again, I'm going to reiterate. This movie follows the 5 Lisbon sisters, Therese, Mary, Bonnie, Cecilia, and Lux. But their story is told through the eyes of teen boys in their neighborhood. These boys are obsessed with these girls. They are all the boys can talk and think about, even years later after their death. However, nothing actually truly happens between the sisters and the boys. We get a few interactions, like taking them to the homecoming dance or little Morse code flashlights through the window, little small talk here and there. But that's it. The few interactions that we have are never anything past the surface. It's always polite smiles and small talk. None of the boys try to actually get to know the girls for who they actually are. A great example of this is when they're skimming through Cecilia's diary after her suicide. The viewer knows that from the few conversations that she has a huge interest in the environment. She talks about endangered species with her mother before dinner and is deeply involved with the degradation of the elm trees in her neighborhood. While the boys are flipping through her diary after her death, like I said, they find pages and pages of her writing about the elm tree. But the boys are uninterested. They don't see the value of why she's spending pages and pages talking about the elm tree. So they skip through all of it just to find out the gossip surrounding her and her sisters. Why is this important? If they took the time to read her interests in the dying elm trees, it may have allowed them to understand Cecilia better. Understand her as a person. Why does she find these trees so fascinating? Did she see herself in these dying trees? Could the answer of why she took her life be hidden in those entries? We never know because the boys do not care. Another great example I would like to add, this is a little bit of a spoiler, so if you have never watched the film, I would skip over this. But there's this girl named Lux. She is considered the prettiest sister. Not even is she the prettiest sister, boys consider her to be the prettiest girl in school. And she catches the eyes of, what is his name? Is it Ted? Is it Tim? It's played by Josh Hartnett. I forget the boy's name. So we're just going to call him Josh because that's the actor's name. So we're just going to call him Josh. Josh takes a huge liking to Lux. You're even hearing him in the adult timeline recounting his love story with Lux. And as an adult, he is adamant that Lux is the love of his life. And the boys will tell you that Josh is the most reliable narrator. He is honest to a fault. You can trust the words that this man says. So he considers Lux to be the love of his life. So as the viewer, you're assuming that this boy is heartbroken. This man now is heartbroken, devastated. He can never find a love like Lux. Except he sleeps with her. Okay, no, let me backtrack. He goes out of his way, asks the father for permission to take her to homecoming. The parents are reluctant at first, but they come around and they allow the boy to take her to homecoming if he can get other guys for the sisters. He does. He goes through a bunch of efforts to get this girl to homecoming. They go to homecoming together. They're having a great time. They even win homecoming king and queen. Then, instead of having to go home like she is meant to, he convinces her to go out into the football field where it's implied that he sleeps with her. He sleeps with her in the football field. And before the sun is even fully risen, he leaves her out in the football field alone. And he even states that after he was done sleeping with her, he kind of lost all interest. And to the boys, that makes sense. As a woman, as a girl, you already know it's bull honky. You already know it's not legitimate. Lux was never the love of his life. It was full-on lust. He wanted the prettiest girl in the school, and after he got to be with the prettiest girl in the school, he lost all interest. He left her alone in the football field to wake up by herself after he slept with her. And it's kind of implied that, that may be her first time ever being that intimate with a boy. And you have to hear this man talk about how that was the love of his life. Shirley did not treat her as such. And you have to hear from the boys that are narrating this whole story that he's an honest, reliable narrator. Which is absolutely so frustrating. This is why I'm so frustrated with this movie. Okay, so this is important. They do not care about getting to know these girls on a deeper level. They are so okay with just keeping them as characters in a fantasy, objects that are meant to be admired and desired and never fully known or valued. We only know from the outside how these girls are suffering, but we never truly get an inside glimpse. We actually never get to hear from the girls about how they are feeling. We never get a first-person perspective. We only know what the boys see. We only know what the boys imagine happens. We know they come from a strict household, and we get glimpses of how strict the parents can be, but we are never fully immersed in how brutal the punishments actually are. The punishments, when they are depicted, are filmed in this dreamy sequence, again signifying that this story is not actually a first-hand account of these girls' lives. As one punishment, like I said before, Lux skipped curfew. She was out all night. She was left by the boy that said that she was the love of his life. Lost interest after getting what he wanted, by the way. So she is punished. Not only her, but the sisters are greatly punished for her staying out past curfew, out all night, actually. Punished greatly. And the punishment is that the girls are taken out of school, so they can't finish their education, and they cannot leave the house. They are locked inside all day, every day. Cannot get an education, cannot further their education. They cannot leave the house. The mother is making Lux burn her rock albums and CDs. They're locked and caged away from the outside world. And the way that this is depicted is these girls are pretty. They're pretty, they're relaxed, and they're a little too calm. There is nothing about them that seems haggard, distraught, upset. If I'm stuck in the house all day as punishment and it's preventing me from furthering my education, from seeing anybody on the outside, I would be anything but calm. I would be angry. I would be distraught, and I would not have the energy to be pretty and calm. I would be scared for my future. I would be scared for my present. I would be constantly anxious, and that negative emotions would show on my face. I would have no time to be pretty. I would have no time to be flipping through magazines braiding my sister's hair. I would be livid. I would be upset. And it gives the sense that these boys are unreliable narrators. I mean, we know this. We know this. They have no clue what truly goes on in that house. Even the parents are depicted as calm, well-meaning people. But how can they be if they're willing to strip their daughters of education after one mishap? They have to be crueler to their daughters more than what the viewer gets to see, more than what the neighborhood gets to see. And that's what's so frustrating, is that you don't get a first-hand account to see how abusive the parents are, because it's not in first person. It's told by a person that is not on the inside, on the outside. So you get this glamorized, romanticized version of these sister stories. In the end, all 5 sisters have committed suicide. But throughout the story, you don't get anything violent or cruel or dirty that makes you understand why they took their own lives. Instead, you get something beautiful, something romanticized. And this is the frustrating part. The boys and the neighborhood was so caught up in making these girls a story, making these girls a fantasy or a cautionary tale. They never cared enough to sneak a peek behind the curtains to learn more about their humanity. This is seen after Josh has his way with Lux and never speaks to her again. This is seen when the boys are flipping through Cecilia's diary after her suicide and are completely neglecting all the parts with the elm tree just to hear about the gossip that goes on with the sisters. That's what makes these girls and their suicide an enigma, a mystery that can't be solved. These girls would have been easy to understand if someone took the time to understand them. Instead, we get a neighborhood that rather partake in gossip and voyeurism. So, what did we learn today? These girls were not considered humans. They were considered objects of fascination, objects of desire. They were seen as fantasy rather than real human beings, to the point where these boys really felt that they were mysterious and puzzling and hard to put together, when the truth is, it's on the boys for never ever taking the time to understand who they truly are. Even in their adulthood, which they are narrating from, they cannot fully understand that they didn't treat these girls like human beings. They treated them like objects, and so did the whole town. The whole town rather gossip about them than actually do something to help them. These girls were taken out of school. These girls were held in a very strict and religious household. And all we get from that is a romanticized version of that hellhole. We never actually get to see the cruelty. And so you're left wondering, why did these girls commit suicide? Nothing ever truly seems disturbing or cruel to go to that extreme. But the reason why we can fully understand why they commit suicide is because it's not told by them. We don't actually get to ever fully know their story because we never ever get to see a first-person perspective of their lives. It's not even narrated by the girls. We never get to fully hear how they feel, how they think, what they want of their futures, how they feel about their present. How do they feel about their relationships with their sisters? How do they feel about their relationship with their parents? We never ever get that. So instead, we are left wondering why. Which us as the viewers, we don't need to wonder why, because we did nothing wrong. But it's because we get it from this person that's on the outside looking in, piecing the stories together of what they've concocted happen. But it's just a very beautified and romanticized version of it. And these girls' legacy is not based in reality. And that is what makes The Virgin Suicide such a frustrating film. but I loved it anyways.